Hey guys, welcome back to Trekyards. He is Commander Cocking.
He is Captain Foley.
And we are here today to talk about Voyager.
Again.
The lower decks version of Voyager. If you haven't checked out our first reaction, or our first look at it, go do so. And this is the more detailed look where we compare it and see how correct the lower decks team got it.
I won't say how long it's been since we filmed the last one, but in that time, Stuart, I've been excitedly waiting to do this one. It's funnier for us than for the audience, but you know what I'm trying to say. This is what we do, Stuart.
Exactly.
This is the detailed breakdown, comparison renders. This isn't finding a stand definition screenshot that's not the right angle, it's not lit well, and blur. I match the angles. No, sorry Brad, sorry Mike, you can't hide at this extreme level of Trekyard scrutiny. And you know what? I'm betting it's going to go really well for you. Remember the Delta Flyer? That was cherry on the top of the icing on top of the cake. This is a hell of a lot bigger and more. Are you ready to shine the biggest light ever on this model?
Yes, let's do it.
So here it is in the show. Looks lovely. Feels like Voyager, right? The colours are maybe a bit saturated because animated. Right. Here we go. Here is the original Screenies model. The standard high-res model. There is a enhanced high-res model which they used for close-up shots, which does have more physical detail, but I went for the standard one. I have overlit it to try and match their overlighting. You can even see some of my angles. Like I managed to match roughly. In fact, there's a more darker spot on the front, front bit. So there's some level of matching. Here's a real one. Not a perfect angle, but close. What do you think? What stands out to you?
There's a few things that I didn't notice on our first look that now I'm noticing that are a little bit different, obviously. And I pointed this out a few times during the other episode. At the front there, it says Voyager. It says the registry number by the airlock door on the front of the saucer there. I didn't realize how dissimilar those were. I made a point of saying in the last one to zoom in. You can actually still read it. It's like amazing. Here it's like bigger.
And it doesn't even feel obnoxious on the real one. It just blends in fine. Why is it so small?
I don't know. That's an interesting choice.
Obviously, there is a slight perspective. I mean, clearly there's a different focal length, although I tried to match it somewhat. So, but yeah, definitely a disparity in size. Huh. That's hilarious.
I mean, other than that, I noticed some greebly differences, but it's weird because the lower decks one seems a little bit more detailed in the greebly area than the actual one.
It's because I haven't just not lit it. That is a thing to praise them heavily on, but it's because there's a bit of shadow there. This is really similar. Really, really similar. It vibes so well. Now, of course, there are very good reference for this model, both the miniature and public orthographics, which means every top, bottom, side, whatever view of the original 3D model, which means you can match that in your 3D software and recreate it. Entirely possible, so good for them. It's very doable. And what I love about older models is that those greeblies in the sensor pads, which is what we see at the front there, which are just simple blocky shapes, you could recreate them with more detailed shapes and we would understand, right? We'd accept the logic of that. Or you can say, right, we've got 14 squares, 3 rectangles and a cube. Hey, modeled they're very basic. And I love when modelers replicate the basic, simple, 30-year-old details. Because it feels right, but it's so low detail, but it means quick. I love it. I love it.
I'm noticing a few other little things the more I look. Like, for example, the deflector has an added detail in the middle at the top on the lower decks one, and is missing some details above the deflector, like the little arrows pointing towards the photon launchers. Small little things, but
shape-wise, very well done.
Perfectly.
Proportion very well done.
Yeah.
Although it's so fascinating, they've lit the entire deflector, but you're meant to be able to see the grills, and that black helps to highlight. They've just made the entire thing a lit element. These are super subtle things, but it does, again, lower the detail level, right? These are things that add up. Because clearly, and I said this in our first reaction, the low X Voyager is actually covered in generic square panel texture. It's very flat. It's very basic. The aft of the ship has got panel lines. If you look at the real Voyager, those panel lines give it so much nuanced detail between the larger elements. Even though it's just painted on, right? And there's little panel color variations. All that is missing. For me, the bottom one feels so much more detailed than the top. It's not flat, it's not whatever. But it's just lines. And they're missing all those lines in the Load X one. All of them.
Yeah, the one thing I did notice too is there's an inset area on the bottom of the saucer. And on the Lord X one, it's a darker gray. On the actual Voyager, it's the same color. I mean,
yeah.
Depending on the lighting, it would look darker, but
that's so true. That's like almost like the Excelsior has a just inset for some reason. That's a good point. Yeah. The pennant reads to me as different. The scale on the secondary hull feels thicker on the original Voyager.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
And you can't even read the yellow of because the yellow and the black complement each other on the original to kind of give you contrast. You can't even see it on the Lower Decks one. I mentioned the previous one, the RCS thrusters. You can now see it's actually 3-tone of brown. The main hull brown, the outer element of the thrusters is a slightly lighter brown, and the inner is a dark brown. The Lower Decks one's just brown and reflective brown, right? Again, subtle difference, which obviously in 1993 they thought we'll just change the color value, boom, detail. Yeah. But it adds up, right?
Other difference, I mean, the bottom registry is a different size. A little bit larger on the Lower Decks one, and the windows underneath the registry there on the bottom are, they're there. I mean, in the actual one, you can see the interior detail, but small thing. I just thought I'd point it out.
Exactly. But it's so fun to see. They obviously included the red lines, which are like the warning lines for the phasers and the docking port. But yeah, by missing around the deflector, tiny things that you can be forgiven for missing, because why would you think, why are there triangles? They just didn't use the texturing concepts of Voyager. They built what was physical, but they skipped all that subtle texturing, and that is the subtle stuff that adds up, right? And it's just missing it, so it's just flatter.
97% of the people watching wouldn't even notice that, maybe even higher number than that, because
watching this
it is so subtle.
I mean, maybe 91%.
Yeah, it is so subtle, but when you have them side by side, it's like, boom, there you go. So
it makes you appreciate the original. Another couple of things that are more just vibe. The rim of Voyager is a lovely curve. The one on Lower Decks, it feels kind of hard-edged. Very hard. Well, that left side, I mean, it's a slice, right? Don't think it comes across in motion, but Voyager here feels nice and curved, which then links to the secondary hull, where the pennant is. Nice curve, hard edge on the one from Lower Decks.
And the one thing I did mention in our last first look at this is the phaser emitters, the phaser strips. They're ribbed or textured on the actual model. And on Lower Decks are just very nice, smooth.
Yep, which is what they are if you turn the textures off. So physically it's what they are. On the miniature, of course, they are actually really ribbed, and we built that for a high res, and there's a really intricate detail that you wouldn't notice if you found like an ultra close-up, which we did. But again, the subtle texture detail this didn't do, and that's one of them. They would have been very quick to do that. Really quick. And the one from Voyager is a very low resolution texture. It ain't good, but it adds a detail, right? But still, mostly amazing, but the subtle things. The next view, now this I talked about in the previous one, of are they going to make the mistakes of the CG model? Because that's the reference point. The fact that, Stuart, what you see, there's escape pod hatches on the neck. They're really curved doors to follow the hull. They're not quite like that on the miniature. Nor are the phaser strips. They don't curve in a way. Have they been perfectly replicated here? Flaws and all?
Yep.
Flaws and all.
Good job.
I love it. Such a simple thing. Right. Now this... Okay, so I said in another review the neck felt wrong. Now I see why. Look at those panel lines. Look at the sub-colours. Way more detail on the original. I knew it felt wrong. Go back and watch my review. So much missing detail on the neck. Like those subtleties that the textures bring. It's so plain. It shouldn't be that plain. Wow.
They darkened up those black details, which you pointed out as well. They are there on the model, but they're very subtle. They're much more subtle on the actual one, right? So
wow, yeah. See, I like my brain when it gets something right.
Which never happens, so I'm just kidding.
But yeah, they included the lines.
They even forgot some details.
Ooh, what do you think?
Above the torpedo launchers on the left-hand side, there's a
door. They forgot the door.
Is it a shuttle bay? Like a
No,
it's just a
no, it's just a door. It's just a normal hatch door.
maybe a cargo bay or something.
Well, it's just an airlock, right? They did, Stuart. So now we know it's not the original model because they just got that far wrong. Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Guys. Oh, turns out when you're being pushed against the best thing possible, you get things wrong. That's great. Oh, and there is a shot later to another detail I noticed, but you caught one that's really good that I didn't notice. Some subtle differences. The ribbing on the back of the nacelles is meant to blend in. Here it's really dark, really pops. Not sure which I prefer. Don't know. Same thing. The top detail on the impulse engines. Actually, the impulse engines are super wrong. Actually, the colours are all wrong. They made some things that are black, not black. The impulse engines are meant to be black and red, and here they're just all grey. So that does look worse, distinctly, in my opinion.
And shape-wise, there's a difference. If this was like a top view, the shuttle bay area is much more elongated in the lower decks one.
Possibly.
As opposed to the real one. It could just, again, be focal length or whatever, like you said, but there seems to be a disparity in the shuttle bay area.
And there is, and also missing more text details. They're missing a registry a name at the bottom. It's very close, but it is the slightly wrong colour, and they're missing a name. Now, one thing that they did right, but also wrong, the transporter emitters, which on the real Voyager are to the left and right of the shuttle bay, there's little yellow things. They look like stickers because they're very thin on their texture. On the high detail version, they were made real, as in for the close-ups on Voyager, and they are very blocky, and that is very well replicated. This low deck, so they replicated that version of the model to give more detail because they should be raised. They just weren't on the original. But yeah, the amount of lines they're missing, all that subtle text detail, they just aren't hitting in any way, and it's so detrimental to the overall vibe. So interesting.
Now, you said something about a registry. What were you talking about?
Right in the shuttle bay, next to the door, there should be. You can see his little text. Missing text.
Oh, this 74656. Yeah. You're right.
They're also missing the very bright pennants, or the red and blacks around the side phaser strips on the back of the saucer. They're just not there.
Mm. Oh yeah. Which we gave them praise for because they were on the main ones.
That's them though. Gosh, and when you remove the lined plate detailing on the equivalent of the struts, the nacelles feel just basic and plain now, which I did call out in another shot. They feel really good here, Voyager, not so good in lower decks. Super interesting. But at least they got blinkies, right, as you called them out for.
They did. Thank you for getting blinkies right and not being all red.
Oh, they even did the rotation parts wrong on the nacelles. In the original one, they I think it is different on the miniature slightly because they actually worked versus fake worked, right? But they're not at all the same. They're now inside the hull, and doesn't make sense. Versus they're just a stuck-on cylinder that turns, right? So that's just wrong. Super interesting. Love it, but really good.
Yes.
But wrong in several places. Love it.
Going to the next shot, one of the classic shots of Voyager. Some details missing around the deflector, an additional detail added to the middle of the deflector at the very middle front top.
There's some fun plating they've miscolored. Either side of the aero shuttle, there should be these little sort of feathery wing things, and in this version they're just a plate that's grey, so that's not correct.
Additional detail on the lower decks one with those black things everywhere. They're present on the other model, but they don't stand out as much. I kind of like that they stand out more on the lower decks one.
Well, they kind of work when light hits them, right? It's if you make them too bright, they're the same color. But if you give them a light angle, they're shadow generated. So that's obviously what they're there for. Aero shuttle, basic on the lower decks, but actually more depth. It's just a texture. It's a raised texture on the original. Here it's a physical thing, although they are missing many details, and it kind of feels odd now to have a hull the same color as a hull. Really subtle, but having that be a black element on the real one gives it a sense it's a plate. It's a functional reason. Here it looks like there's just a shape that's been stuck out. It lost a subtlety in translation. Oh, and you can see the Greeblies here now, finally on the edge of the hull. Oh my god, look at those. Those are 1 for 1. I kind of thought they were 1 for 1 recreated. I would say basic.
Even some of the color splashes are in there as well.
It's a small thing to do, but yeah, I think there's a 1 for 1.
The bottom of the nacelle, the pennant on the lower decks one is much wider.
Oh my god. What are they doing? Wow. And also, it looks like the curve of the nacelle is wrong. It's more gentle curve, and those are really hard nacelles to do. We've had them done more than once, and they're more pointy in the lower decks one. Really subtle, but yeah, well, those pennants, man, wow. Which is weird because the pennant on the nacelle is giant. The pennant on the secondary hull is smaller in lower decks. Not as radically smaller, but just that. Wow.
But the side pennant matches more closely to the actual model size-wise.
But also still just a bit wrong. That's great. Next view is that famous close-up, which allows you to highlight the interior detail on the other deflector is correct. They did include the red little, there's the 3 little circles and a red thing. Good. You can see how poorly its texture then mapped on the real model. 1993. But those sensor Greeblies is really close. I don't know if they're perfect, but they look really similar. And
just like in the last video, special shout out to them for getting the number on that escape pod hatch exact 1007. Good job.
Again, not rocket science, but good.
Yeah, and this is the shot where I called out the interior details in the windows, and I think that's why you're just used to seeing them on Voyager. Now, the other odd thing is the registry.
Oh, yeah. I've got a shot of that later. Don't worry. The model I have just doesn't like that registry. Sometimes ignore that. It's fine. It's fine. One subtle thing they've done, which is very, very... I mean, this is what we're doing here, right? On the real Voyager, the windows... The main windows, obviously, the big ones are really cut in. The main windows have a slight in-cut, but it's flush with the hull. These windows on lower decks... Every single window is a full cut and facing out. Whereas on the real Voyager, they follow the curve of the hull. That's a change. Kind of matches the big windows, but that is not correct. What do you think? It's very subtle.
It is very subtle, yeah.
But it's definitely there. What do you think?
I almost prefer the way that Lower Decks did it. It makes more sense logically, I guess. But yeah, I can see the difference there you're talking about.
Very, very subtle.
The other thing is the shape of that secondary deflector is a little bit off. Seems to be a little bit more truncated, and again, it could be focal length.
I think that's focal length, yeah.
But the details are all there, so that's awesome.
Ooh.
Missing a yellow.
Yep, they're missing 2 yellow things. Guys, come on, you missed the 4th orange thing layer. Stuart, I'm out. I missed it. I'm done.
Well, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. No, he's coming back. We got more to look at.
Oh my god. Well, you never notice that. But you missed an orange thing. Now, the next view is when I said I called out specifically previously. Can you see why it annoyed me so much? The just patterning on the Lodex thing is not remotely there.
Yeah, there's much better detail on the actual model. It looks more strutty. This other one looks just flows into the secondary hull.
And also, there's no Aztecing. You can see there's no Aztecing on the strut whatsoever. At all. I've lit it sort of... like there's none, but why is everything an Aztec pattern? It's just wrong. It's a small thing, but it's a nice looking nacelle and pylon. It's not in lower decks.
And the impulse engines are lit like all the way. Like it's one of those subtle things, but like I said in the previous video, I really like the way that Lower Decks lit the impulse engines. I kind of like that more glow, Yeah.
There's an inner slit and an outer slit, and then, but here they've just got red. Okay, just all red. Whatever, fair enough. Oh, the pennant goes less far as well down the nacelle, just a little bit.
That was an odd choice for Lower Decks to do that. Oh well.
And it's funny because if they had, brought in Trekyards, we could have pointed out these, 15 small mistakes and fixed them. As we're doing right now for free, after the fact.
And the windows on the secondary hull Lord X1 aren't they're just like texture. They're just like a thing on the hull, whereas the actual model they pop more. And it's one thing we mentioned with our first look is the lights don't seem to be on some of the times, which you lose that detail. So,
but the way lights in the scene is hitting the windows next to each other on and off, you can see that it's being lit by this texture. It's a flat, super flat, would not look the same on the real CG. Next shot is the deflector area, which again is flat looking. And now again you can see the missing of all of those textured subtleties on secondary hull, of the landing leg doors, of all the panel lines. It detracts so much from the level of detail that it just looks like a cheap toy, a cheap cartoon, which it's not a cheap cartoon, it's a cartoon. But this was done in 1993. They could have put some lines on the hull, which they would know were there. They've already put them back. So that is just them not doing something that really, really affects the vibe.
Yeah, the red markings around the landing bay, or the landing legs, and the lack of red details around the phaser strips and stuff is odd choice. And the registry name or number being slid further forward on the hull as well.
Well, it's not even there.
It's not even there, yeah.
Which it's the real model, so that's the truth.
Usually that would say like United Federation of Planets in that banner for most of the other ships.
But it doesn't on Voyager, apparently. It's missing the Voyager name between the sensor, between the transporter emitters. And also there's no escape pod names, numbers, only in the one shot. So... Oh, and they've entirely changed. There's a new plate. There's these weird like hexagonal bits on the bottom of the saucer. On the left side of the deflector. On the real one, there is no plate. There's a transporter emitter. On this version, they've now removed that and put a big plate that's not there.
Yeah.
And what's funny is, of course, this is a museum. They've deliberately returned to factory defaults. These things would be correct to the original. There's no like, oh, it was changed over 20 years in Picard. Oh, they removed it. No, they didn't. This is just, they changed it.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
But the next shot...
There's a close-up detail.
Yeah, still missing the registry number, but just behind the shuttle bay door. But
And that neck command, so plain. So plain.
Yeah, just the difference in coloring, the different gray colors on the original model.
And as I said previously, it isn't just lighting. The real Voyager is a duck egg blue. The Lorex Voyager, that's a grey. It's not registered. It's not reading as a nice sort of. It's the wrong colour. So easy to get wrong. I get it, but it's not the right colour. Voyager's a lovely colour. Now this is where I thought, going into this, I found the one big error. You found a second big error with a missing door. Good job. So let me show you. It's hilarious they've done this. The next shot is they entirely mess up the shuttle bay.
They put the door on the wrong side.
Nope. They put two doors because clearly they just mirrored the ship. They built it, they mirrored it. That's not what the Voyager is. The Voyager has one door on the right and a detail panel on the left. But they just mirrored it and called it a day. Which probably is why there's no door on the top, because that would not be happening if you had a mirror. And most models build it in half and then mirror it, right? Or to get the details. They did that, and it made it incorrect.
You're absolutely right, and that's why there would be no door on that side, because they modeled the right side of the ship, obviously, because that's where the door is.
But yeah,
that's why there's two doors at the back.
Yep.
Ha! We figured it out.
And this is wrong. It's just incorrect. And they would not put a second door for no reason, because there's probably going to be, something there. They're going to cut out part of the very limited space in their secondary hull to put a new door in. No, for a museum exhibit. They're not doing that.
I love how we each notice one of these things, and it's for the same reason, because they mirrored the ship, and we're mirroring each other's ideas. See, it's all...
You found a missing door, I found an added door. Like, that's ridiculous. I found your door. Tier.
Oh, it's in the wrong spot.
It's the wrong spot.
It's the wrong shape.
So it's the same shape of
size.
door. It's a Defiant style ish door. So I just want to end on that because anyway. Yeah, amazing, guys. It's okay. You messed up, right? Like they did the same thing with Enterprise D for Picard season 1. They mirrored a design. The asymmetry got lost. We get it, but you should have done a second pass because you could easily have rubbed it out and put it in.
Small thing. Nobody will notice. It's fine. But they know what Trekyards watches. Mike McMahon, Brad, you guys know that we watch. Anyway.
And to be fair, they might not have even noticed. Because it's really small. But the irony is they could now do an Eagle Moss, if the company still existed, an Eagle Moss Lower Decks version, which is now actually different. Because they're different plates, they're different pennant locations. It is actually a different version of the ship. It has enough small things, especially paint. It's actually a different version of the ship, distinctly.
And different registry, as you'll see in the next picture.
Yes, so I want to end on the Voyager.
As you can see, it's much more pushed down on Lower Decks. Different font size. It's just different. And I never noticed it until we got the side-by-side comparison. I knew something felt off about it. It just didn't look right, and now I know why. So,
and this is where, again, anyone can do a fan registry with a fan texture. That's the real one. Ain't no hiding. Yeah, clearly Voyager continued the black, white, red. Lower Decks forgot that and just did black and red and made the black twice as thick. Okay. And yeah, different font. This is not the right font. Or it's not stretched.
Yeah, it's not stretched properly. Odd choice, but...
Bit funny, eh? I guess they repainted the registry for lols. And it's so interesting here because they did understand that you need those panel lines here. Except now they're deep plating cut-ins, which don't look as correct. They are just little tiny, lines, but they're detailed and they're too thick here. As subtle as that is, they need to be so subtle and so thin. And they didn't quite, whatever here. Although, it's funny then you look, what is the canon? If we look at a real model of Voyager, that right-hand phaser strip, the red bit's misaligned. So,
I noticed that. I was going to say that. That's a weird thing.
Yeah. So there's the canon. You got to misalign the painting of the red. Yeah. Yeah.
That was fun.
Yep. Only Trekyards, Joe. Only Trekyards. That's why we exist. For this sort of minutia.
If you guys enjoyed it, hit that like button. Don't forget to check out our first look at this thing exterior-wise.
Very different video.
This is a different video, different feel. And now we know the differences, and so do you. So thank you guys for watching. Please make sure you're subscribed, notified, all that. You know the routine. And join us for lives where we can chat with you guys in real time and hang out with you because we love doing that.
And of course, this video was longer than the episode of Lower Decks itself.
Of course it was.
Of course it was. So,
welcome to Trekyards, in depth.
Support what we do here, Mike, Brad, and team. Mr. Obina, maybe. Patreon, join the channel. Both are monthly ways of supporting what we do here. For this sort of content, when Lower Decks or other shows bring something that we can compare, we'll do it. We'll be that one-stop shop. Or you can donate one time via PayPal, trekyards@hotmail.com, or via super chatting during a live on Lower Decks. I'm sure we'll do one on the Voyager. This will be fun and live. Or super thanks on any video. So if you'd like this video and this video alone, put in a super thanks. We'd really appreciate. Well, it's in the name. We would super thank you in our hearts.
So until next time, he's Commander Cockins.
He's Captain Foley.
See you guys later.
Bye, guys.